This fish is known as escalade. A lot of people probably know that as butterfish, but it's not exactly a butterfish, but that's the marketing name for it. So these are a bycatch of marlin and swordfish. They're caught together, and that's basically the result. They've got a really thick, sort of leathery skin. Barramundi that's come from Cone Bay in Western Australia, and that's just again, you can just see the firmness of that fish. A fish called ling, or pink ling. This is locally caught, and it's line caught fish. So very, very popular. This one here you can probably see it's just had its tail chopped off, and the shark has had a bit of a bite out of that. And you've got some flathead, which is probably one of the most popular fishing restaurants at the moment. Obviously because of its head, got quite a flat head. You can see the eyes, they're nice and clear. Gills nice and red, and it's quite firm. It's not sloppy. It's very firm, so it hasn't been out of the water way too long. Over here we've got some spotted trevally. So this is a very popular fish. It's more of a cheaper line fish, mainly available during the winter, and this product's mainly used for fish and chips. Tends to dry out if you grill it or bake it. Gummy shark. So this is the most popular fish that we use, or that the fish and chipperies use. So if you go to any really good quality fish and chip shop, that's probably what you're going to get. But it has started becoming a little bit more popular with the restaurants and the pubs because of its just sweet flavour. It's just absolutely superb eating. So this is really, really good quality fish. Baby snapper that have come through from New Zealand, and as you can see, just from the shine and the glisten that they've got, they're really superb quality. All the fish that comes over from New Zealand comes in these poly boxes, whereas all this fish that's in bins is all locally caught. And general quality indicators, Bevan, for fish is pretty much the firmness of the fish. Also, the fact that it's quite stiff. It's not soft and floppy. It's got clear eyes, as you can see there. It's got a sheen to it. It doesn't look dry and out of the water for too long. And also, if we open up in there, we can see some very nice red gills. So they're the main quality indicators. So if people are going to a retail shop and they want to, assess the quality of it, they're the main things to look for as well. Good thing.
That's a beautiful fish.
It is, absolutely, no doubt. I mean, you can just see the blood dripping out of it.
Agriculture as well.
These are, absolutely. These are farmed down in Tasmania. They're farmed in sea cages. This one here, this ocean trout's probably a little bit more moist in flavour, a little bit more buttery, a little bit more rich than the salmon, but absolutely superb eating. And again, that's farmed in exactly the same method as the Atlantic salmon. Really robust fish, available all year round, really good. Some of our most popular lines are the farmed fish, like Tasmanian salmon is a farmed aquaculture product, and sustainability has become such a huge issue, especially with chefs here in Melbourne, that we have to be very wary of what we buy and basically how we sell it as well. Back in the day, going back 20 years ago or 25 years ago, there was not really much of an emphasis, and that's where we sort of got into trouble with fish like orange roughy, which is a classic example of overfishing back in the 70s and the early 80s, where the product was so popular. It was at a price point that was very attractive. It's a skinless, boneless white fillet, and that's exactly what the Australian market and the US market wanted. So the fishermen went out open slather, and they just basically caught. Absolutely, and they just caught as much as they could. And then a few years later, we were caught in a situation whereby the quota got cut to zero. The product wasn't allowed to be caught. Now, a little bit of time has gone by, and the product has basically regrouped. I mean, the species have pretty much regrouped. They have grown. They are more thriving in the oceans now, along Tasmania, basically in between Tasmania and New Zealand, and we're starting to see more of that product. So the whole idea of the quota system and sustainability is to make sure that that doesn't happen again. If we go out, a very popular line at the moment is flathead, for example. If we just go out and catch all the flathead we can, it will get to a point where there won't be any flathead, or they will move. So the product won't be available. So we definitely have to be very, very careful. And farm fish has become a very strong marketing point as well for a lot of chefs, where they're specifying on their menus now that the product is from a sustainable source. And we're a big fan of that. We're a big believer in that, and more species are now becoming available through farming.
What are your main species? Obviously, tuna is quite often done, isn't it? Your Atlantic salmon. What other sort of fish do they
tuna, salmon. I mean, tuna's one of those ones that is it's hard to really sort of call it a farm product at the moment, because what they're doing is that the fishermen go out into the Great Australian Bight, basically grab a school of tuna, bring it back, and then feed them for 6 to 12 months, and then export them, and they effectively calling that farming of tuna. It's not necessarily farming. Now the company that actually does that, what they've actually started doing is doing trials to create tuna from embryo. So their trials are now they're still in the trial stage, but it's very difficult because of the conditions, and you're effectively just creating something out of nothing. So they're in the process of doing that. But kingfish is a very popular one. Mulloway, not so popular, but it is available. Atlantic salmon would definitely be the one biggest farm fish that's available, and also as a seller, that's probably up there. Ocean trout, barramundi, and there's a few other lines as well that have started coming through, like fish like cobia, which is a black kingfish. But it's not that popular if you put cobia on a menu. A lot of people don't know what it is, so it hasn't really sort of kicked off the way that it should. But it's a great eating fish, however.
Naturally, a filleter cannot do their job unless their tools are in pristine condition. Now, having their knives razor sharp is an absolute must. Now, the big native barramundi has incredibly large circular scales that have to be removed before it can be filleted. Now, underneath that hard armour-like scales is a delicate and soft flesh. Now, barramundi is cut in a similar way to Atlantic salmon and ocean trout. Whole pieces are removed from the central skeleton with very minimal wastage. Now, as we've seen, there's so many different types of fish that we eat regularly within Australia. Now, each different type of fish requires a different style of filleting. Now, we often take for granted our Atlantic salmon and that it has no bones when we purchase it. Now, the reality is that each fillet has to be pin boned before it's sold. Now, it's an art in itself to do it well, and these guys massage that super fresh fish to remove the entire bones in record time, whilst also maintaining the presentation of the fish. The snapper, a favourite down here in Melbourne, is a super fast fish to fillet, and these guys take about 30 seconds for one fish. It's stunning to watch. Now, take for instance flathead. Compared to that of an Atlantic salmon, which may have 90% yield, the flathead is considerably lower with 2 small fillets off each side. Now, the supplier purchases a whole fish. It's then filleted by a professional filleter, where 40% of the fish is discarded. The remaining 60% of the fish left has to then be packed and distributed to the shop or restaurant, where they then put a markup on their purchase. So when you see flathead at $45 a kilo compared to an Atlantic salmon at $25 a kilo, you can better understand the costs involved in its production.